This meeting is being live streamed. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. But still, we're so grainy. Why so grainy?
Okay. We are live there on YouTube. Let's get the audio here. Okay then. So let's get the audio going right here. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone, to Aaron's Opinion. Tonight, we're joined with our new guest here, Kevin Dobie Coachman. I've actually known of you for a while, known of your story for a while, and only now have I gotten around to, interviewing you after being blessed with all the other interviews and everything else. You just finally fit into my schedule. So welcome.
Welcome.
I understand, and I've come to understand actually from other blind people in the community that you have quite the story in life. You've had quite the spiritual journey. When I tell you that Aaron's Opinion is marked as explicit, I mean it. This is the podcast where you can tell the entirety of your spiritual journey so far, everything that you've been through, the going blind, the whole story, as graphic as you want, as spiritual as you want, as much as you want. But I really want to know all the details about your whole philosophy in life by basically me asking one huge question that'll help us. So who is Kevin Dobie Coachman? And go ahead and dig in to your spiritual journey and all of that. Go ahead.
Well, Kevin Coachman is a 62-year-old man. I grew up in the hard knocks of the city of Chicago. I have a juvenile record that'll choke a horse, but all praise to my mother that got me grounded and nurtured me to play football. And that's how I ended up with a 4-year scholarship at Indiana State University, where I was all Missouri Valley Conference player for 3 years while I was at Indiana State. I graduated in '82 with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I went on to play in the Canadian Football League for the Ottawa Apaches. I played there for about 2.5 years. Came back home, back to Chicago. Well, not really came back home, but I lived in Houston, Texas, where I had a great job working at Quad Graphics. I was one of the supervisors at Quad Graphics. But I came back home because my mother started her journey on dementia and Alzheimer's, rather. And I came back home to take care of her. And upon that, I experienced homelessness, living on the street. Couldn't find a job. And one day I was on my way, I was driving down the street, and a young man of 16 years old carjacked me and shot me 6 times. I received 2 gunshot wounds to the head and 4 to my body that ruptured my optic nerve and head. I sustained retinal damage that left me totally blind. Now, first my left eye was removed, and now my right eye is gone now, so I don't have any vision whatsoever. But I'm still here. That's all I can say. And I have a beautiful wife, so I'm still here.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm founder and director of Chised Homeless Prevention and Residential Center here in Chicago and Harvey, Illinois. I do street ministry. I pass out clothing, socks, hygiene products, water, whatever I have. I give to the homeless because there are an overwhelming numbers of homelessness here in the city of Chicago. I don't know where else to begin. But right now, I don't know where else to go now.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing the story and your journey. Your journey has been extremely fascinating so far in life.
Yes.
So, of course, I mean, I have a lot of, philosophical questions for you, but really the most interesting thing to think about is So why do you suppose, because you are a man of faith, as am I. By the way, I happen to be a Jewish guy, but
Okay.
I'm a man of faith.
Yes, you
And
are.
and so what I would like to know is, why do you think God has, put you through, basically put you through this meat grinder of having to go through all of these life-changing experiences? The reason I ask is I have interviewed other people, a couple other people here on Aaron's Opinion over the years, who have not necessarily had your story, but have had stories similar, where, you leave the podcast thinking, wow, that guy basically his whole life has been like a book or a movie. Why does God take certain people on these journeys, on these basically movies that you have to survive? What's the purpose of that, do you suppose?
I wonder sometime because when I came here, when I was born, we experienced homelessness. My mother, my sister, my brother, my twin brother, and myself. We had a bout of homelessness and a lot of poverty that I grew up in. And I wonder why sometimes I have to go through all of this. I always ask my wife. I crammed for 4 years in college to get an engineering degree, and now I can't even see to use it. so that make me feel like I waste my time sometimes. But I don't know really why he sent us through that. Maybe me because that old saying, what's that old saying? What's that old saying? What will get us strong won't kill something. But anyway, I believe he does that too because he wants warriors. I guess he wants men of courage. I guess he wants men that's strong hearted men. I guess that's that he's building his army. So I guess that's how I look at it. Sometimes I had to say maybe he's just building me for his army. So 'cause I know a lot of people that had worse, that had less things happen to them in their life, and they committed suicide and things like that. I have a great friend now that just committed suicide last month, and because he lost his eyesight and didn't want to live anymore. But um, I sometimes I wonder that sometimes, but I'm like I say, I'm still here and I'm still trying to go strong and I'm still trying to help someone. So I figure that's my assignment from God.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. So let's really break down some of the elements, and my prayers go out to you, and I'm sorry to hear about your friend who took his own life. That is unfortunately, Mr. Coachman, that is something that I hear about very frequently in the blindness community. In my case, I'm a young person. I'm 32.
Okay.
And I was born blind with glaucoma, so I never had to transition to being blind. But I cannot even begin to comprehend, well, how bizarre it must be to become blind as an adult later on, and not to mention the way you became blind. That must have really, I mean, that's really bizarre and terrifying, and just
Yeah.
a utterly bizarre experience to just
Long road to rehab. Long road to rehab. I want to give up so many times, and I still sometimes I feel like giving up sometime now, but I'm not going to give up because I come too far to give up now. So
that's right. That's right.
I'm not going to give up.
So let me get personal with you here, because on my show I like to really get under people's skin and really dig deep into the core and philosophy of people. If I get too deep, just let me know, and I'll of course go to the next question. So let's unfold the ingredients. So you mentioned in your past, going through the past to where you are now, you mentioned that you had a juvenile record. The reason why I bring it. Okay, you aren't afraid of the past. Okay, good.
Oh no,
good. That's good. That's a good life lesson, to not be afraid of what's happened.
I'm not ashamed to tell my story.
Well then, okay. Then what I want to know, as someone who is a super strict traditional conservative person, I want to know exactly, how does juvenile justice work, and keyword work, and what exactly are we doing wrong in America these days? Because we hear about in the media and on YouTube every day, I hear about some young kid, committing some offense or committing some atrocious crime. And I think that's a huge problem. So talk to me about that. What is the real problem?
I think America needs to take correctional facility off of the prisons first, and just make them say prison. because they cut out a lot of schooling, trades. They cut out a lot of things. They even cut out a reentry program. You can't take a man that did 10 years in prison and then put him back out on the street. He don't know nothing about it. He don't know nothing about the world no more. So so since he don't know nothing about the world and can't get a job being an ex-offender, he's gonna go back to what he knows. Here in Illinois is a 99.9% return rate here in Illinois. The people, most ex-offenders only be out 60 days before they get a new case and then right back in prison again because they haven't been trained. They haven't been corrected. The correctional facilities is just a word to keep the taxpayers paying. Oh, he's being corrected. You're not being corrected. Not when you're in your cell 23.5. The only time you come out is for yard, for a breath of fresh air or sun. Half the time you're sitting in your cell, caged like an animal. No schooling, no jobs, no training, no nothing. So you can go back out in the world and be productive. And that's the problem I have with the prison systems in the United States. Then you got these privatized prisons that want to that get these big contracts for these companies, and they get free labor. They get free labor. They build prisons in small towns so all the prison population can be signed to be on their census. The more people you have in your census, the more government money you have. So there's a lot of problem with the correctional facility, the penal system here in America.
Yeah, and you've alluded to the fact that you served time yourself. So exactly, what would need to change to basically quote unquote correct all of this criminality that we see and all of this? So like, what really needs to happen in actuality?
Well, I have a master's in human behavior. I don't think we can really correct the criminology. I think we have to give people better choices. Because a lot of people can't look outside the box. When you're stuck in the box for one way for all your life, you're not going to look out nowhere else. You're going to stay right there where you're at. But the penal system should have different areas. They should have different areas where people can go and get training. They got to. Most people, just like the homeless people want to feel like they belong. Just like an ex-offender, he want to feel like he belongs. He feels he served his time. So now he wants to come out here and be productive. But if you're not going to let him be productive because you keep throwing up his background, he's going to shy from it and going to end up right back in prison where he feels comfortable. Where he don't have to worry about being productive. You don't have to. All he has to do is listen for the bell to go eat.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you how long you served in?
When I was a youth, I did 18 months. I did 18 months in a youth prison called St. Charles. It's no longer there, but this way back in the 70s. Because I don't mind. I was a gangbanger. I banged. Having growing up without a father, no strict role models in my household. My mother was at work all the time, so she couldn't supervise me. So the streets had to raise me. Pimp players and hustlers. That's who I got my lessons from. Living on the streets of Chicago. And plus where I was raised at wasn't the best place because it was housing projects. And sometimes you have to take care of your brothers and sisters. You got to be right out there with them. You gotta build your reputation so my mother won't get her purse snatched or my sister get raped or anything like that.
Yeah, very difficult. Very, very, very difficult life. Very, very difficult. Yeah. And then, all right. And then after those 18 months, then you got out of that juvenile prison. And then where did you go after there?
Went to eighth grade. They let me go to eighth grade. I graduated from junior high school.
Yeah.
And from there, I went to high school.
Right.
Played football, stayed out of trouble. I haven't been in trouble since. I started playing football, and I was good at playing football.
Yeah, you discovered the football. Yeah,
And
that's
that was a part of my rage, releasing
Mhm.
some of my rage I had. Because
right.
I grew up doing the civil rights movements. I'm watching grown men get beat up just for the color of their skin, sprayed down with water hoses. At 5 years old, I watched my mother go to jail because we was getting on a bus in Chicago. This is 1960, 64 or 65. My mother was getting on a bus one time, and she had my sister and my brother and myself. We was getting on the bus, and a Caucasian bus driver said, "Hurry up and get on the bus and sit your little monkeys down." That's what he told my mother. And my mother did not want to hear that today. So my mother went up there and confronted him, and they locked my mother up for 6 months for battery to a Caucasian.
Yeah, very, very tragic and very also very interesting at that time period.
I'm watching this at 5 years old when they take my mother away.
Yeah, wouldn't that? Yeah, obviously that would traumatize a 5-year-old. Right, right. Yeah,
And
that's
from there, they sent us to foster care. They sent us to foster care, but they want to split us together. So my sister and myself, we ran away, and my brother, we ran ran to my grandmother's house because my sister, she's older. She didn't want us to be split it up. So that's how that was the end of that till they caught us, till they got us. And by that time, we one of our relatives took us.
well, that's good. That's
Mhm.
good. Yeah. And then you mentioned at the beginning, you mentioned that you got to play like professional football in Canada. But
Yes.
exactly how did how did that come out of all of this? Yeah.
Like I cut many times from the National Football League here in America. I got cut from the San Diego Chargers. I got cut from the Kansas City Chiefs, and
Wow.
I still wanted to play football. So I put in a request for the scouts to check out my films in Canada, and they liked it. They liked me and drafted me. Um, for my size and my quickness, I was too small. In the NFL, I was too small to be a middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I had the weight and the speed, I didn't have the height.
Ah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. And then what was your experience like playing in Canada?
Oh, I love Canada. I tell my wife all the time, Canada's beautiful. I if I ever leave America, Canada be one place I'll be. I
Right, right.
had a great time in Canada for the 2.5 years I lived there and played there. The people are
Okay.
so kind, and they are so kind and pleasant and laid back. You know, they don't have. I experience more prejudice in America than I experience anywhere else. Isn't that something?
Well, I had heard of that as a young person. I've actually heard of that. However, it's also interesting that you say that,
Mhm.
because I have spoken to many Canadians that are young people
Uh-huh.
today, and they've been complaining a lot about Canada. They say that, yeah, Canada used to have that reputation of being a kind and great place for people, but now there's a lot more corruption in Canada.
It probably
Or
is.
there's a lot more social problems now are
Right.
starting, like you were talking about before. A lot of the
Mhm.
social problems are starting
Right.
to seep into Canada now and
Yes.
starting to build
Yes.
up now,
But I was in Canada. This is 82, 83,
Yeah.
84. It was beautiful up there,
Oh,
I haven't been there since.
those were the good old days. I mean,
Oh yeah.
considering, and I mean this in the greatest sense of in the greatest complimentary sense, considering everything that you've said so far, considering everything that went wrong so far, you actually got quite a privilege and quite a reward to get to play football. And you got quite a interesting equation there. To be able to
Yeah, I
have
saw
such.
the world.
Yeah.
Canadian football, I got a chance to go to England. I got a chance to play in England for
Mm-hmm.
the International Bowl. I got the chance to see England, Scotland, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester. Where else I go? A lot of places I got to see in the UK, so
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Cool. Cool. Do you mind? This is a really weird question. Do you mind turning off your camera? There's some weird. I don't know. Your video feed looks really strange. Could one of you turn off the
My
camera?
wife should take care of it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No worries. Thank you. Looks perfect now. I don't know. There's some weird. I don't know what's going on with. Something was going haywire there with that video feed. No matter. All right. Well, anyway, that's all. Actually, all very fast, incredibly fascinating. But more on. So then, at some point, though, you come back to the States. And let's really break down this whole you becoming blind and getting carjacked. So exactly, let's unfold that. So how did that come about again? And what are all of the details behind all of that? Yeah.
Well, I was driving home from work and I was going down the street and I stopped at a stop sign or a stoplight rather. And a young man came from the back of the car to in my blind side and stuck a gun to my ear and told me, "Give me the car, fool." So I gave him the car and gave him the keys, and he shot me 6 times. So that was that. I laid on the street. I don't remember nothing after that. So I know I fought him. I fought him because the police said he had a lot of injuries to his person. So, but I don't remember everything that happened.
Right. Well, obviously, you completely had the right to defend yourself. So obviously, you probably justifiably, you probably attacked him, and then he probably retaliated with his weapon.
I just know they say he would never be able to close his mouth again.
Well, good. Well, then maybe he won't be. Well, then you should have said, well, then good. Then maybe he won't be able to carjack again.
Yeah, maybe, but he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. So
that was interesting. I was about to ask. So did you ever figure out whatever became of that person if they ever?
Yeah, well, like I say, when I was in the hospital, so
Yeah.
I didn't. They had me like in a what you call it, baby? When I was in a coma. So while they were doing the court preliminary, but my sister, that was her main thing. But like I say, I was in the hospital like 2 years, almost 2 years, So, and then I had to go to rehab and learn how to blink, swallow, eat, whole lot of things. I had to learn how to walk again. So. And then I lost my eyesight, and I had to learn how to walk, eat, blink all over again. I had to learn how to be mobile with a white cane now. So.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's been a journey though, and a lot of times I felt like giving up.
Right. Well, so nowadays it seems like you're really doing a lot. So exactly what do you do now? Let's unfold all of the various ministry work that you're doing and all of that.
So right now I'm trying to work on a sober work therapy shelter program. The sober work therapy shelter program is going to consist of a community kitchen, a resale store, and a hand and detailing car wash. Each homeless client that will come into my facility, they will sign a contract and they will work in one of those skilled positions, and they will learn food service, customer service, or hand car wash and detailing. Because a lot of people that I meet homeless, they never had a job, or they're ex-offenders and they don't have anything to place on their resumes. That's what keep them from getting the good job that they can be self-sufficient with.
Right. So exactly when you're going to actually teach these homeless people to do these jobs. So how are you going to teach them? How are you going to teach them those skills? And how are you going to teach them how to work, how to have good work ethic? I mean, it seems like you've given this a lot of thought. So how does work ethic really work?
If you on my program, on my program and you sign a contract to be in my program, you're gonna learn work ethics real great, real fast. If not, you would be terminated from the program, and the next person to come.
Right.
I'm gonna teach them. I'm not gonna teach. I have certain people that I have in my network that can teach them food service. You know, I have my wife. My wife can teach customer service because that's what she done all her life. You know, me, I'm an engineering. I'm an engineer. I have a degree in engineering. Plus, I used to be a certified auto mechanic. So I know cars. You know, so somewhere someone is gonna be able to be taught a skill so they can prevent homelessness. That's my main focus, to prevent homeless. I don't teach people how to get jobs. I teach people how to keep a job.
Right. Right. Well, that's really, really good. That's really excellent. Now, has this program started yet, or is this
No,
a program?
no, not yet. No, we need funding. Me and my wife was talking about funding before we came in. We need funding. Everywhere I go, I can't get the proper funding that I need. so I need funding. I just keep doing my street ministry. I need to raise money now so I can get a better business plan now. So that's gonna cost like $1,600 to $1,700 right there. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm fundraising now for, so I can get the business plan. Then I can fill out. Then I can go with my bank with grants.
Right. Right.
Then I can pursue property. Once I can pursue property grants, and I can pursue property, then everything else will be added on.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, how many other podcasts and YouTube channels have you been on to share this journey? Because the greatest way to get the word out about what you do is to, get the word out, be on podcasts.
I did one or two. I think you're my second one. I did one with the veterans one time. A great friend, Victor Sarmiento. He works with veterans, and he works with the homeless veterans. And I was on one of his Zooms one time, and I was telling him about things that I was trying to do. I was on a Hope Manufacturing Zoom where I got a friend that build houses out of recycled material. He built houses out of garbage. And these houses are strong and they last, no mold, no termites, no dry rot, or nothing. And they last and they're strong and durable.
Right, right. Well, that is really really fascinating.
Yes.
So, have you thought about getting into podcasting yourself or writing a book about your life? Because your life is you're basically a character in your own book. Basically, you could write a book.
My wife always tell me I need to do a podcast because the way they treat blind people in America, that's not good. You know, they have facilities for everybody else. But when it comes to blind, they don't have any adaptable equipment. These jobs, you go in, they don't want to have no, they don't even know what JAWS is. They don't know what a screen reader is. They don't know nothing. So just like when I go vote, it takes me 2 hours to vote because none of the election people know how to set up the audio equipment.
Oh my. Well, that really is the most severe thing. You know, that really you taking 2 hours to vote when voting should take, 30 seconds.
Yeah, you have to wait for people they're not trained to set up the equipment. They can only read it in the book. You know what I'm saying? So my wife would tell you, it takes me hours to vote. For 5 people, it'll take me hours. So
well, that's very disgraceful and very ridiculous because
yes, it is.
I really wish that more blind people had the strength to vote and get involved in their community. And I really mean it. It's a severe problem that we're living in a society now that, again, has all these problems that we've already discussed, but also has no real, sense of, I'm like I said, I'm 32 years old and I'm already concerned about the way this country's headed, and the future for blind people is extremely disturbing to me.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
They want to use AI to replace human beings on the job.
Right.
But that same AI can be used for the blind. My OrCam cost them near $5,000.
Right.
You know the OrCam device is, right?
Right. No, I've heard of OrCam. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, but it's very overpriced for people on a fixed income who are disabled.
Well, it's not affordable. The answer is
That's what I'm saying.
It's not overpriced. If for some of these blind people, it's not even in the books.
It's not in the books, and you can't. None of the restaurants you can go where you can get an audio menu. No place. You can go to state and federal. You can go to a state and federal county building. They won't have anything in there for a blind person. Not even Braille.
Yeah.
Well, it's just sickening. But I see everybody else. I see every other group of people want rights and be politically correct and everything. But you can't even. What about blind people?
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife wants to say something.
Go ahead. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Donna. When you asked Kevin why did he think God allowed him to walk this walk that he's on, I personally believe because Kevin has such a passion and he's very vocal that somebody needs to be able to stand up and say, hey, look, we're here, we count, we're not going away. We can be very productive citizens. There's so much that we have to offer, and we deserve our place in society. But if he wasn't in this position, he couldn't use his voice because he would not know firsthand what it was like to have sight and then not have sight. What it's like to have a job, to have these skills, still have the skills, but because there are no adaptive equipment for him to be able to use his skills, he's stuck. He's stuck in a place. So my feeling is he is in this position because he's that voice. He's that voice. And I hope you can encourage him to do a podcast because I believe he has so much to say. And I believe there are people who want to hear what he has to say. And there are people who feel the same way that he does, but they feel like I don't have a voice. He can be that voice that allows other people to stand up and say, yeah, you know what? In my area, they don't have the equipment for me to be able to vote. They don't have the OrCams. They don't have the screen readers. And for them to be able to pull together and lobby for what it is that they need. Thank you for letting me speak.
I had a friend.
You are so welcome. Both of you are forever members of the Aaron's Opinion family. Both of you are forever welcome on my show. You need to know that if anyone gives you a hard time, just come over to my show and complain about it because you're forever welcome here. But yes, by the way, Kate, for the record, Kevin, I love hearing you talk. I love your voice, your delivery. I mean, I could listen to your voice as a podcast consumer. You definitely have the voice, the delivery, the passion, the soul, that powerful soul voice. I don't think I've spoken to someone with such a powerful and beautiful way of talking that you do. I mean, you really.
Thank you.
You need to get behind the microphone more often. Yeah.
My wife been getting me on there, and I might just do that starting next year.
Well, next year? What about tomorrow? What do you want for next year for?
Tomorrow is fine, but like I say, I have so much I need. I need to get started now because it's getting to get winter time, and there's a lot of homeless people out there right now. So. Right. I'm trying to build some funding now. That's my main focus right there. So I can get some commercial property. So I can be able to rent or lease some commercial property.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. So if
anyone would like to make a donation, you can go to Zelle and Kevin Coachman. I had to put that plug in there.
Okay, just as good as putting the plug in there, why don't, when you write up your description for the episode and you write up a nice paragraph about your experiences and all of your social media links, you can certainly include a social media link
Okay.
to that page, and absolutely it'll be on the description of the episode, and I'm sure people will help out and get involved, because really, quite frankly, the people who listen to podcasts are the people who do get involved and do care.
Yes.
So that's really, that's all very fascinating and
All right.
and all great.
Mhm.
So what are some, when you aren't doing all this ministry stuff, what are some of your other, side projects, and what is a hobby that you have that I wouldn't expect you to have? I mean, I would expect you to have a lot of interesting and strange hobbies, but what's a strange hobby that you have that I wouldn't expect you to have?
I don't know. I can cut my grass outside. People will come all around and watch me cut my grass outside. I don't really have too many hobbies like I used to. Maybe my sports, that's about it. But and singing. But since I lost my eyesight, I'm hoping my friend can develop a talking chessboard, because that's my favorite game, chessboard.
Oh.
So I
So
can play
good.
chess again. Yeah.
Well, you can get a Braille chess board and be in the U.S. Braille Chess Association,
Right.
USBCA. Yeah.
I heard about them, but he's gonna do it. He's trying to work an audio chessboard.
Hmm.
My knight can be bishop, king, knight, things like that. So
Right.
I love playing chess, and I hate I can't play it like I used to anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know Braille. I don't know Braille like I want to.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, given your athletic background and athletic talent, have you thought about, do you ever use your athletic skills now to, not necessarily encourage people to live a healthy life, do sports, do you encourage that at all? What's your, and what's your opinion? By the way, I've never really gotten to ask someone this, but what is your opinion where we see so many, young people growing up and saying, oh, I want to be a football player. What's like, how does that whole mindset actually work? What's your opinion about that?
Well, for being a professional athlete, anything that you want to do, you have to work for it. If you want to be a rapper, you got to learn grammar. You got to learn how to speak. You got to learn words. You got to learn a lot of things. Just like being a football player, you have to learn your body, your strengths, your weaknesses. You have to go through a training table. You have to live and eat football. Like when I was in college, I lived and ate football 24 hours a day. And if you're not ready to do that, especially when you get to the pros, once you get to the pros, that's when all of it's going to pay off. You have to live for that game.
Yeah. So still today, do you still always love to watch the Chiefs and watch the Chargers?
I watch everyone. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so.
Right, but I would, of course, right. You're from Chicago, so you would fight. Your team would be the Bears, but I would think you would watch the teams that you actually got to play.
Yeah,
for.
I watch everybody. My wife knows if it's a game on, I don't care who it is. I'm watching.
Oh, so good! It's so good, so good, so excellent. Yeah, one of my it's actually a very strange thing, but one of my not by blood, but one of my distant relatives by marriage is actually one of the coaches, or is on the staff. One of the coaches for I think Kansas City. So when you said that, I was like, oh, I thought that's really ironic and really interesting. Yeah.
I would love to coach. I would love to coach. Love to coach.
You have a coach's voice. If I think in my ear, what does a football coach sound like? Kevin Dobie Coachman. You have the coach. You have the coach voice.
I would love to coach. My coach in college was named Dennis Rates. He was an all-pro tackle from the old Washington Redskins in the 60s.
Wow.
And he was tougher than Mike Dicker.
I think the truth of your story, Kevin, is you've probably met a lot of interesting people in
Oh
football
yeah.
and in professional. You've met a lot of characters
Oh yeah.
throughout your life.
I met a lot of people that I met a lot of people that I can still uh say they're my friends, or that even today, after 40 years and past, I still have ex-professional people that's on my Facebook page or whatever, So
Well, that's really cool. I mean, have you ever, thought about starting some for yourself? I mean, have you ever thought about starting some sort of podcast for yourself where you kind of include, I don't know, like include a couple people from your past and then include some other characters that you've met along the way? I don't know, that would be
oh
kind
yeah,
of an interesting,
my wife
yeah.
always wanted me to do a podcast because I know I used to be a professional singer at one time. So
Yeah. Wait. Hold on. Let's pause it. Okay. So what's your favorite? What's your favorite thing to sing? What's your favorite genre to sing?
I love gospel. I love gospel. I like
Give
some
me,
jazz. I like some.
give me a couple. You aren't getting out of here. Give me a couple
Oh
bars.
Lord.
Give me a couple bars. Let me hear you
Let's
sing a
see.
little bit.
I don't know what to sing.
Dang.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Oh, okay, that's enough for me. Thy will be done on earth. Huh?
Hang on a mistletoe.
Oh, I can't sing. Hey, let me see, y'all. Let me clear my throat. What you say?
The song that you sang to me.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletime carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They'll know that Santa's on his way. He's loading lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh. And every mother's child is gonna smile to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase for kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. That's it.
There
That's
you
it.
there you go. There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
no, that's a record deal. We gotta
Ah!
there you go.
Oh.
See, you have, sometimes here at Aaron's Opinion, well, really all the time, I'm always blessed with guests that have a variety of abilities and a variety of gifts and a variety of experiences. But you got a whole menu. I mean, you have experiences.
That's why I'm so vocal at these companies. That's pushing blind people and deaf people, slip them, especially blind people, sweep them up under the rug, put them in the back.
Right.
I don't get that. I really don't get that. I think that's why I'm so vocal. My wife gets mad at me for being vocal sometimes because I don't understand. Don't tell me the reason why we can't do this. Don't tell me you got this big company and tell me the reason why we don't have anything for the blind because we don't get enough people here. We don't get enough blind people here. That's a cop out to me.
Right.
That's a cop out because if you had it already in existence, maybe the blind people will come.
Right. Exactly.
So they got tired of waiting around you to do something, and they'll walk away while you fiddling. Just like closed caption. You got closed caption back there on TV. But you ever ask yourself, why can't Hollywood make a movie the script coming straight out of Hollywood?
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of services like that, and there's a lot of ways to get a video describe, DVS, and there's a lot of websites that do that now. But
Yeah, I know,
you're
but
you're absolutely right.
it doesn't make no sense for me to have to wait or whatever for a new release movie. You
Mm.
know, it should come right out of Hollywood, ready for closed caption or for the visually impaired. Period.
I don't specific. I mean, you're right. I mean, I don't specifically know why, why those movies don't come out that way to begin with. Actually, I do know it has to do with money.
That's all it is.
Is the real reason. Money is the real evil. But you're absolutely right. And I think someone with all of your gifts and all of your personality and all of your vocal skills, you are a great advocate for blind people. That's very clear to me. So you go talk to Hollywood and tell them, fix this and things like that.
I wrote Netflix and everything. I wrote Netflix. I wrote Instagram. I wrote a lot of places that don't have adaptable equipment for blind people.
Right.
A lot of them don't even write me back.
Okay.
Don't even write me back. But I planted a seed there. So
yeah. Well, it actually takes a while. I mean, it takes a very long time to get someone to to come full circle and interview someone that you've kind of known of for a while. And I mean, I've kind of known of you for a while, just haven't really, quite frankly, just haven't gotten around to it. And
I had my guide dog one time.
And
I'm waiting on a cab to come get me.
Right.
And I'm waiting there, and the cab is in front of me, but he didn't say anything to me. I didn't know he was there. So he called me and said, "Is that you standing there with your dog?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Wait right there." I waited for an hour and a half because he didn't want no dog. He didn't want no dog in his car.
Yeah.
And that's a service animal. That's a guide dog. You cannot deny this guide dog anywhere. My wife had to go to court for that.
Good.
That's how they treat us.
And that's how I was treated when I had a guide dog years ago too. This is a serious problem. Right. A serious problem.
And then when the cab driver drove away, he told me to get the number, get the cab number on the back of the car.
Interesting and disappointing and frustrating, yet not surprising.
That's why I speak up now. That's why I was newly blind when that happened to me, but now I speak up. I don't care if you're a state and federal facility. If you don't have any equipment for a blind person, I'm going to say something.
Well,
don't tell me I have to get someone to help me. But I'm right here at your place of business. Don't tell me I have to get someone to help me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And especially when you serve, if you ADA applying, if you ADA compliant, you have everything I need right there. Deaf, blind, crippled, whatever.
Right.
Don't tell me you ADA compliant and you don't even have a grid on the floor so I know how to get in and out.
Right. Yeah. No, you are so right. These types of as we started talking at the beginning of the interview, these types of social problems get worse and worse over time until we eventually nip them in the butt. And until they're addressed by you, by me, by your wife, by other successful people around the country, until they're addressed, the problems will fester. And these problems have gotten, I mean, I don't know if the problems have gotten worse over my 32 years so far, or if it's just that I notice how bad the problem is.
It's got worse.
Both.
I got friends that was denied a place to sit in a restaurant because the people that was sitting next to her did not want to eat their lunch next to a dog, where a dog was. So they put her way in the back and asked her, can she tie her guide dog outside?
What?
Crazy.
And this is supposedly 2023, and we have people acting.
I'd be wondering sometimes, what year is it?
The other thing that I wonder is what's really, I mean, the other question that I have, and you alluded to some of the problem too, what's really going on in people's families and households to produce adults that have these
Well,
weird beliefs? Like what is
well,
going on in these families?
when you take God out of the foundation,
Yeah.
when you take God out of the foundation,
Hmm.
when you sit and watch people running for political offices saying anything out their mouths and getting away with it, when you see when you mix marijuana and the right to carry a gun, you know, think about it. If you
Yeah.
mixing all that together, somebody is not going to grasp it correctly. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
know.
so when you watching your political people do anything and saying anything on social media or TV, when you give me when you let me smoke marijuana, you know, if you let me smoke marijuana and carry a gun, they don't think about they don't think of marijuana makes people paranoid.
Right.
And I got a
Right.
gun, so I feel threatened by you. Now I can shoot you. When you
Yeah.
letting when you letting mass shooters stream stream what they're finna do without stopping them before they start killing. They watch the man buy body armor. He live streamed it, buy body armor and everything, and bought all the bullets, and then kill all them people in on the East Coast at the Walmart.
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's sickening.
And on top of that, on top of sickening, I think that problem is getting worse. I hear about this happening more frequently, not less
Yeah.
frequently. So clearly we don't have it right. Clearly our country and our psyche is not well. I mean, you're fine. I'm fine. Thanks to God for that. You know, but
See, when you don't have
overall,
God,
yeah.
we don't. When our schools took God out of everything, you wanna tell a Christian he can't pray. You wanna tell a Muslim he can't pray. You wanna tell a Jewish person he can't pray his way. You telling a Buddhist he can't pray. But you tell me I can say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Yeah. Yeah. A, that doesn't make you're correct. It doesn't make any sense at all. But B, when I was in high school, I remember because I complained you know what? I remember complaining about it. There was a group of students that refused to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
And I had a problem with it. And I complained to a teacher. And then of course I got in trouble for complaining about it.
Right.
Obviously, that's the problem. Obviously, that's the problem. But you know,
But
yeah.
did you ask her, can you put your yarmulke on and pray?
Right. Well, in that case, no, because
Okay.
because I'm not that Jew. I'm not that
No, I'm
much of a
just
Jew.
saying.
But
I'm just
but
saying,
no,
you
but
know.
I totally absorb your spirituality
Okay.
and point. No, I totally
Okay.
get the point. But
Okay.
the point is you're correct. The point is it is wrong that I think in some way the I don't know how much of a flaw it is to say that we have to have separation of church and state, but one thing I know is that you're right. Whatever the separation is, we need more of the church. We need more of the God.
When the government stop raising your children,
Yeah.
when you stop allowing the government to raise your children, when I can't smack Johnny. I might go to jail.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you stop letting the government raise your children, these children grow up with some type of fear of their parents. When I was growing up, I had fear of my mother. I never wanted to let my mother down.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's you are so correct.
Kids now, they don't care nothing about letting their parents down. They don't care. Half the crimes here in Chicago and probably everywhere else are for young people under 18.
No, I would say most of it, or at least the majority. The majority of crimes are committed.
You
by
had a carjacker out here carjacking people and shooting people, and he was only 11 years old.
Well, that's a very that child must have had very poor parents, to put it lightly,
Didn't have no parents.
or that, or
They were
no, or none at
friends.
all.
Anytime the government said, treat your child as your friend, that's when we lost our children. Because my
Right.
mother told me I'll never be your friend.
No, parents.
I'm your parent.
Yeah, no, but you're correct. And my parents are similar. My parents are similar mindset. But unfortunately, we have our work cut out for us because
Yes.
the majority of the children
Yeah.
are raised in the opposite sense. But then again, another great philosopher once said that, we've really already lost the battle because we've allowed social media to dominate our lives too. So that's another problem. It's
It's social media. I think some of these rappers should take the consequences of what they put out. I think Grand Theft Auto can't never be a game. I don't get it. I don't get it. And these parents are saying they don't let their children get these things, but they get them anyhow. They get them anyhow.
Mhm.
Some of the rap lyrics shouldn't be in no child's brain. A child at 3rd year old, a child in 3rd grade shouldn't have to worry about who he identified with, what sex he identified with.
Just be a child.
Just let him be a child. Good Lord. He's 7 years old. Now he got to worry about who I identify with sexually. Am I a boy or a girl?
Well, that child needs to look in between their legs.
Well, like
And
I
that's-
say, that's what I'm saying. But the world is taking the innocence from our children.
Really is. And
They're
it's
taking the
really,
innocence from our
it's really scary because I don't have children.
Yes.
Luckily, I don't have a girlfriend. Luckily, I don't have children. Luckily, because if I did, because trust me, when I tell you, I'm not lying to you, Kevin. If I had children today, I would be terrified.
I know you would.
I would be deeply disturbed and concerned. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, these kids are too exposed to everything. They exposed to everything.
Right.
I'm not knocking the LGBT community. I'm not knocking none of that. That's fine. But some of that need to leave our children alone with that. Let them grow up.
Yes. Mostly I agree with you. Although I do think my opinion, because it's an opinion show, I do think that the LGBT, Q stuff, I do think that is its own, cultic belief, to some extent, cult of personality, cult-like belief system. I said my opinion, I said cult-like, I think that that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but yes, but for
politically correct,
Mhm.
I think it's demonic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's fine. I completely agree with your
I think
stance
it's
on it.
demonic. So
Well, and it might be, but you know what, quite frank, on the other hand, all of these other problems that we've already gone over and all the other horrific things that you've had to go through, like carjacking, I mean, that's way worse than the LGBT.
everything, but I believe we need to. I love the LGBT. I got a lot of friends in that community.
Me too.
But my thing is, we need to protect our children a little better than what we do.
I think that's quite it. I think that I'm not really, because I really do have a lot of admiration for all these different people.
Yeah.
But what I'm agreeing with is that when children are being manipulated by teachers and adults, that's where I can easily tell in my mind, that's not okay. And that's actually the problem.
My wife used to tell a story. You could put a newborn baby in the crib, a black baby and a white baby, and newborn. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
My wife tell a story where when she was working for the Department of Children and Family Services, she said you can get a black baby and sit in one way and a white baby and let them play. And they'll play, hug, kiss, go to sleep holding each other until somebody plant that seed in their brains. My wife can tell you, a little white girl told her, I can't play with you anymore. Tell her, baby.
Horrible.
Well, that was in the 60s. We were on a train. I was with my parents, and we're going to Virginia. And I'm just playing with this little girl.
You just
And
saw a little
then
girl.
We just playing.
Mhm.
And then she looked at me and she says, my mommy says I can't play. And at that time we were like Collins colored with colored people.
Mhm.
And I just looked at her because I really had never, like in my family, nobody's calling me a colored girl.
Right.
And so I got up and I went to my mom and said, Mom, a little girl says she can't play with colored people, with colored children. And mother just told me to sit next to her, just come and sit next to her. But that was always a question to me because here we were, two little kids.
Just
We
all
were
you
just
saw was a
playing.
little kid.
We just
Until
playing.
somebody put that seed in her brain, she wouldn't know what. Somebody had to put color girl in her brain, didn't
But the thing about it is, if the thing just thinking back to that time, here she was being so innocent,
Right.
just repeating what her
they?
mother said,
That she planted that
and
seed.
playing with me, probably not understanding
Right.
that I was a quote unquote colored
But
girl.
all she saw was another little girl.
Yes.
That's a
That's
very,
what I'm talking about.
that's extremely fascinating for young people to hear about that. That's how that was, back in those days. And it's horrible, horrible and extremely interesting. Well, I got to tell you both, to Donna and Kevin, I knew that this was going to be a ride, this interview, and boy was I right. You guys are an incredible listen, to incredible human beings to have on a podcast. I've been podcasting for 3 years. Let me tell you, you guys are some of the best in the business. So
save our children. That's all I can say.
Well, okay. Well, good luck. Because
Save our children.
Well, thank you so much for that, because that should be encouragement to Kevin for him to throw his ring into the podcast.
Maybe we do a Kevin and Donna podcast.
And I promise, Aaron's opinion is your first subscriber. Trust me.
Wonderful.
My wife, she used to be on the radio. She had a radio show at one time. So
Kevin, let me tell you two things. Number one, you are not getting out of this podcast thing. You're going to end up.
No, he's not.
You are not getting out of that. I want to wrap up the interview here. Utterly fascinating. But before I do, as you know, I have a very great way to end the episode. I'm going to ask each of you. I'm going to say, Kevin, and to you, Donna, both of you can ask me only one more question to really make me sweat as a podcaster. What do each of you want to know about me?
Oh,
go ahead.
What got you into being into doing a podcast?
Well, I was sitting around during the pandemic with my teaching work that I do online. And a lot of blind people were posting in the community. They were asking questions about, should I get a guide dog? A lot of these innocent questions, not the fascinating explicit content that we covered here tonight. They didn't ask anything that crazy, which I'm grateful for. But they did ask great questions, and I would record voice memos and send them back voice recordings of their question. And that became a podcast over time that developed into what this is now. Great question. And to you, Kevin.
I understand, because I'm on the Federation for the Blind, and I get a lot of questions. A lot of blind people send me a lot of questions on tips and things like that. How can I fill up my cup without pouring it over and stuff like that? I get a ping pong ball, so
What's your question for him?
Yes, exactly.
My question.
He's about to wrap it up.
I really don't have. I appreciate you taking the time out to interview me.
I appreciate you too.
I hope that we can do it again sometime.
Of course we can. Of course we can.
I really don't have any questions. I really don't have any questions to ask you.
Question next time.
And when you in Brooklyn, go see my cousins on 78th and Cooper Street, right there by Knickerbocker Avenue in Bushwick. No. You probably in New York.
Okay, well, I see. Just an utterly fascinating interview with two fascinating people for sure. So, if someone wants to get in touch with you guys, how would they do that? Where can you guys be reached?
Well, they can always hit me on Facebook, Kevin Dobie Coachman. or they can go to my email address, CHESEDHPRC@gmail.com. That's just said Homeless Prevention and Residential Center Incorporated. Just said HPRC@gmail.com.
Sounds good to me.
And if you would like to send a financial donation to my struggling ministry, you can always go to Zelle at Kevin Coachman. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Both of you are forever welcome. Click the link in the description, everyone. Stay safe out there. And as we say in the podcast community, we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Help one person today. Help 1 million people tomorrow. So much for watching it on YouTube. If you're still here, if you've managed to survive if you've managed to stomach all this material, thank you. Like it if you like it, dislike it to help it move up in the algorithm. Share the video, subscribe, turn on all notifications, comment below. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you to both of you for joining me. We'll talk soon on Facebook. Take care. Help one person today. Help 1 million people tomorrow.